Today we're on Review 14, Fractions to Decimals. And that's kind of what you've been doing on the warm-up. You've been memorizing some that we use all the time. There's some that are very frequent. Other fractions are not so common, like 5/6. So to figure out what that is, we need to use man, horse, which means division. We're going to put the man in the house and the horse is outside. So we would put the number on top inside the house and the number on bottom outside the house. Okay, let's look at your worksheet. Review 14, Guided Practice. Number 1 says write the decimal 1/2 as a fraction in simplest form. Now, if you can say that number correctly, you'll be able to write it as a fraction real easily. It's 1 and 2/10. Remember, we had the place value, we have the decimal place, and to the right of the decimal place is the tenths. And then to the right of that is the hundredths. And then to the right of that is the thousandths. And if you'll look, this first place has 1 0. And this second place has 2 zeros. And the third place has 3 zeros. Kind of looks like a pattern. So if we go back to number 1, it's 1. 1 is the whole number, and then 2/10. So that's 2 over 10. But it says it has to be in simplest form, so you'll need to simplify that. We can divide both of those numbers by 2. And 2 divided by 2 makes 1, and 10 divided by 2 makes 5. Don't forget to bring the whole number over. So it's 1 and 1/5. One and 1/5. And you might have already known that if you memorized the fraction decimal pairs. 0.2 is 1/5. Remember, fifths are counting 20s. Okay, let's look at number 2. Write the decimal 2.04 as a fraction in simplest form. Again, we'll try and say that number correctly. It's 2 and the 4 is in the second place. That's the hundredths. So 2 and 4 hundredths. So the whole number part stays the same. And 4 hundredths. Okay, but again, we need to simplify. And we could divide by 2 because they're both even numbers. But 4 is bigger, and 4 will divide both of those. So 4 divided by 4 makes 1, and 100 divided by 4 makes 25. Don't forget to bring the whole number over. Don't break up our little math family. They have to stay together. Number 3. Write the mixed number 3 and 5/8 as a decimal. So the whole number part stays the same. And then 5/8 was on our sheet to memorize. But if you don't remember it, then you've got to do man, horse. And these get kind of long, so it would be very helpful if you would memorize these because we use them a lot. So the decimal part is going to be 0.625. 3.625. Again, if you had it memorized, you wouldn't have to do all that division. Number 4, Write the mixed number 2 and 5/6 as a decimal. 2 stays the same. 5/6 is not one that we have memorized, so I'm going to have to actually do the division on this one. So 6 goes into 50 8 times, because 8 times 6 is 48. And then we subtract, and we get, so we have to keep going, put a 0. Now, how many times does 6 go into 20? 3 times. So 3 times 6 is 18. 20 minus 18 is 2. Look, it's starting to repeat. So the last digit, only the last digit is repeating. So the last digit gets a repeating bar. Sometimes I call it a hat because it kind of looks like a hat. So it's 2 and 8, 3 with a repeating bar over the 3. 2.83. Number 5, Dr. Alt's office. 3 out of every 10 patients in the waiting room are there for vaccinations. What decimal number represents the part of patients there for vaccinations? 3 out of 10. So my fraction is going to be 3 out of 10. I hope we've memorized at least that one. So the 10th place is right next to the decimal, so that means the 3 goes right next to the decimal. The answer is just 0.3. Number 6 is a little bit more work. All the science club members were given 50 candy bars to sell. Jayla sold 12 bars. Chloe sold 7 bars. Hector sold 23 bars. And Tyson sold 42 bars. List these as decimals in order from least to greatest. So Jayla sold 12 out of 50. And Chloe sold 7 out of 50. And Hector sold 23 out of 50. And Tyson sold 42 out of 50. Well, since they all have the same denominator, I can already tell that the least one is going to be Chloe. And I don't want to have to divide all of these fractions. So these are special ones, special denominators. Can I change that denominator to one of these? A tenth or a hundredth or a thousandth? I could change 50 to 100. So I can make the new denominator 100 if I multiply by 2. So if I do that on top, my new numerator is 14. And so if I can do something to the fraction to make an equivalent with a 10 or 100 or 1,000, then I can just write the number on top as the decimal. 14 hundredths is decimal 1, 4. And since they're all 50, we're going to do that to all of them. I need to change all of them to have a 100 as the denominator. To change 50 to 100, we multiply by 2. So 12 times 2 is going to be 24. And 24 hundredths would be decimal 2, 4. Hector then would need to be multiplied by 2. And 23 times 2 makes 46 hundredths would be 0.46. And then Tyson had 42. We need to multiply that times 2 again to get it over 100. 42 times 2 makes 84, and 84 hundredths is decimal 84. And finally, it said to list them in order from least to greatest. So the least would be 0.14, then 0.24, 0.46, 0.84. 14 hundredths, 24 hundredths, 46 hundredths, and 84 hundredths. Number 7. Cindy used 18 inches of 1 yard strip of border for her poster. Show the part of the strip Cindy used as a fraction and equivalent decimal. Okay, well, the first thing I notice is that this is inches and this is yards. So I need them both to be the same. How many inches are in 1 yard? 36 inches. So Cindy used 18 out of 36. We need to simplify that. What can we divide both of those by? 2 would work because they're even. 3 would work. 6 would even work. And then I think 9 is the biggest. 18 divided by 9 is 2. And 36 divided by 9 is 4. There must have been something a little bit bigger, because I can still simplify 2 and 4. I can simplify those by 2. 2 divided by 2 makes 1, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. So 18 is half of 36. 1836 is 1/2, and 1/2 is, what is a decimal? 0.5. Everybody should know that one. Number 8. Caesar took a survey of his friends and recorded the information in the chart. What part of Caesar's friends chose math as their favorite subject? Well, the smart people chose math as their favorite subject. So 15. Well, I need 15 out of something, so we need a total first. Add all those numbers up. Total is 30, so this is 15 out of 30. We're going to need to simplify. And typically, if you simplify a fraction, it'll come out to one of those common pairs that we've been working on memorizing. So we could simplify by 5 because those are both divisible by 5. There might have been something bigger for this one too. 3/6. Well, 3 and 6 can also be simplified by 3. So that's going to come out to 1/2 again. 15 is half of 30. So 15 thirtieths is 1/2, which is 0.5. And you can put the 0 in front. You do not have to put the 0 in front. You can even put extra zeros behind and it won't change anything. Any of those answers are acceptable. Let's look at the independent practice that you're supposed to do by yourself. If there's a problem where it's one of the ones that we have been working on memorizing, then you don't have to show any work because you're supposed to have memorized it. But the other problems that require fractions that aren't on our list, you need to show a little bit of work. Let's look at number 4. It says write the improper fraction 121 over 25 as a decimal. And we've been doing these actually. That's an improper fraction. What do we do with an improper fraction? Man, horse. That's how we change it to a decimal. The fat man goes in the house and the horse stands outside. And you just work it out, just like we've been doing. But make sure you change it into a decimal. Don't make it a fraction.